After the last battle with the renegades of House Orlok, the sisters of House Escher make their way home. Wounded and beaten, Banshee, Diva, and Dagger can see the lights of their settlement in the distance. Shadows dance with flames of nearby barrels, which raises concern. It's an area where they can easily be seen. Banshee raises her hand to give them heed. In a whisper, she says, "Snakes." Welcome back to Shadows of Primus and the matchup you wanted to see per our poll. The Nines of House Escher are very much handicapped going into Week 5. They sit at the bottom of the table at 0-4 and will be facing off against the Dark Syndicate of House Delaque. Since the Escher forces are so weak, they have been granted a boon. They may choose the scenario as long as it's one that has not been played, and may pick one tactics card in lieu of a random if random is generated per the scenario. Let's take a look at the forces before we get started. The Dark Syndicate add an ammo jack to their crew. This allows for a reroll of ammo checks. If it is a 1, they are going to bank 115 credits in this one and look to use them in Week 6, which will be the season finale. They depart for battle with 8 active fighters, 2 hangers-on, gang rating of 1705. The Nines of House Escher are the Season 2 champions and have really taken this campaign on the chin. Banshee adds another hyper elixir for battle, as they only had 30 credits. Her, Diva, and Dagger are the only ones active right now, and they depart for battle with 3 active fighters, a gang rating of 1295. Today's matchup is the Marauders, picked by House Escher, and they will be defending. We'll be fighting on 6 tiles today, with House Delaque getting a custom 6 starting roster. The 6 tiles have been mapped off on our skirmish mat with the long fence. Mr. Black leads the way for House Delaque with Sinfall, Darkside, Sinister, Onyx, and Shadow at his side. The Nines are random D3+2, which will put all 3 of their fighters on the board. The Nines will have home turf advantage, rolling 2d6 for battle tests, discarding the highest, and +1 for rally tests. There will be a special rule in this game called Desperation, in which the defenders will automatically pass bottle tests. They can, however, still bottle out voluntarily. For tactics cards, House Delaque is custom 2. They choose Darkness Descends and Over Here. The Nines of House Escher will get 2 cards, one random, which is Stealthy Advance, and by selecting one, which will be Wild Hunt, allowing them to recruit a Wild Runner and 2 Phalanx for this battle. The Wild Runner has a whip and throwing knives and is not counted towards the starting crew. Starting crews for Delaque is 1125, while Escher is 475. This allows for 6 more random tactics cards per the underdog bonus. They get Siren Howls, Lucky Shot, Shiver Prophecy, Chemical Rain, Not So Easy, and Mistress of Death. Scoring today will be +1 point for each enemy fighter out of action and D3 points for being the last gang on the battlefield. House Delaque will have a special objective granting D3 victory points, and that is Mayhem. That means if any of their fighters seriously injures an enemy, they can escape the battlefield afterwards and score additional VP. There won't be any reinforcements in this one. House Delaque will be after the slave pits in this one. This will allow their fighters to gain D3 XP on a D6 and provide D6 times 10 income. We're ready to get underway. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this matchup. Alright, prior to the game, Wild Hunt being played, allowing them to recruit a Wild Runner and 2 Cats. We've also got Stealthy Advance being played by the Escher forces, giving up to half their forces a free move prior to the priority roll. Banshee moves up, and also Diva getting into position with her plasma gun, and we are going to turn 1 priority rolls, where the forces of House Escher will be up first. And Banshee can move up to 8 inches base. She's going to move twice here due to that hyper elixir that she has. She is getting behind cover and out of line of sight. And then we will flip over to the House of Shadows. Onyx is going to use both of his actions to move, getting up on high ground. We've then got Ivy. She is going to use both of her actions to move as well, getting behind cover and followed closely by those Phalanx Cats. The Nines will also play Chemical Rain on her, giving her bleeding, which is a toxin effect for this game. The House of Shadows activates Sinister, and he moves twice, getting behind Onyx. And then we move over to Diva. She's going to use both of her actions to move, getting behind cover with that plasma gun, advancing forward. And then Mr. Black is going to activate for House Delaque, moving twice as well. Dagger activates last for House Escher, using both moves to get behind partial cover. And then over to House Delaque for the rest of the moves, Darkside, Shadow, and Sinfall, all using both of their actions to move. Turn 1 comes to a close with both forces jockeying for position here, trying to get some high ground shots off with plasma guns. And the bag of tricks for House Delaque probably going to start in turn 2. Priority rolls coming up next. Turn 2 priority rolls coming out now, and House Escher will be up again. Darkness Descends being played by House Delaque, where someone in their crew has cut the lights. And most of them have photo goggles. They will be able to see up to 12 inches, while House Escher will be limited to 3. Banshee will move first, moving twice and getting into cover out of line of sight. Onyx then activates, moves up, and will attempt to leap the gap here. Needs to pass an initiative check on a 4+, and he will do so. So he successfully leaps the gap, getting into position, moving through the darkness. And then we go over to Dagger, where she is going to jump down. She moves up, takes an initiative check on a 3+, which is successful, and she leaps to the ground. With her remaining movement, she is going to tuck back into cover and out of line of sight. We then move over to Sinfall, the champion. He is going to move twice. And then back to House Escher. We've got Ivy. She is going to move up. After eyeing the situation out, she decides to move again, getting underneath the platform and out of line of sight. Darkside sees this, moves up with his web weapon. He's going to take a shot at one of these Phalanx cats, and this is a template. It's going to auto-hit, and Strength 5 against Toughness 3. We are going to roll up, and on a 3+, that cat is going to become webbed and will be treated as a serious injury. Now, I'm not sure if this is right or not, but since that is treated as a serious injury, we did take a cool check for nearby Ivy because she is within 3 inches, and she is good. We also take one for the cat as well, the other one, and that one fails, but when it's broken, it just runs back to its owner. Diva, limited by the darkness, moves down and will attempt to jump down to the ground level. 2+ initiative check fails. She will fall, take a Strength 3 hit, and Strength 3 Toughness 3 force needed to cause damage. That does not happen, but she will go down pinned. Remaining moves belong to the House of Shadows. Sinister moving into position, ready to spy anything with his photo goggles in the darkness. And then Shadow is going to move around as well, as Mr. Black is going to move on top of the platform. And this is going to bring us to the end phase of turn 2. So the forces of House Delaque really limiting what the Escher forces can do. The majority of them have photo goggles. They can see up to 12 inches, where the Escher forces right now stumbling through the dark. And we'll roll an injury die here to see if this Phalanx cat will recover from being webbed. It will not. It is getting an assist, however, so we do grant an additional dice. It is no help. And then we are going to move to see if Pitch Black ends on a 6. And it is going to be a 6. The lights are cut back on. This is huge for House Escher, and we immediately go to priority rolls, where once again, House Escher will be up first. And in the perfect scenario for House Escher, with the lights back on, Banshee comes screaming around the corner, charging into Shadow with her Venom Claws and Needle Pistol. And she lashes forward with 3 base attacks, +1 for the charge, +1 for dual melee weapons. And the elixir that she has gives her additional movement on the charge and normally, but it makes her a -1 to hit. So her weapon skill of 2 goes to a 3, and all of these are going to connect with the target except for the needle pistol. And these claws have toxin on them, so he has a toughness of 3, and we are going to be looking to beat that with our toxin rolls, and we will get to re-roll for poison blood. So 3 of these connect, re-rolling that 1 out for poison blood, it is still going to miss, and that's going to be 3 injury dice that will come out no matter what. He is going out of action with 3 flesh wounds. And Mesh Armor not doing any good against AP -2. She is going to consolidate forward just a little bit and will then roll up a D66 for a Shadow. And on a 3-2, it is going to be Grievous. And then she will play Mistress of Death, and when she takes another fighter out of action, she will immediately become standing and active and will be able to be activated again this round. Hearing the screams of Shadow, Darkside is going to move into position and attempt a shot with his web gun. And this is going to be a massive shot, needs a 3 or higher at strength 5 against her toughness of 4 in order to web her. And we're going to roll out that firepower dice first. It's going to be fine. And then a massive shot here, and it looks like Banshee goes down webbed. Dagger then activates for House Escher. She moves up, getting behind cover, and she's going to fire her last gun at Onyx. He is in partial cover, but short range with her last gun, gets a +1, so those will offset, and it will be hitting just on her base weapon skill or ballistic skill of a 4, and that is going to strike Onyx at strength 3, toughness 3. A 4 will be needed to wound. There will be no wound. He will take an initiative check on a 4+, or actually on a 3+, due to the railing, and he will not fall. Sinister now has her in his sights with his last gun and will fire downrange. He normally hits on a 4. Full cover takes this to a 6, but he will aim first. That will knock this down to a 5, and that shot is going to miss. We will then move back over to House Escher, where it looks like the Death Maiden Banshee is going to crawl, trying to get into cover, taking advantage of a fighter in hiding. And then back to House Delaque, we have a move from Sinfall. He is going to use both of his actions to move to the door. Diva is going to get to her feet and move forward as well, getting behind cover. With limited targets, Mr. Black is going to move forward, really trying to watch the right flank. And then Ivy is going to activate from underneath the platform. Her and her cat, the other one, of course, is still webbed. They are going to move twice, getting into potential striking position of House Delaque on the next turn. Where they're going to move over to Onyx, who is going to use his first action to stand, and his second is going to be to lob a photon flash grenade over towards Dagger. So we will roll that firepower dice for the grenade special rule. It is fine, and then he needs a 4+ to hit. He easily hits on a 6. Initiative check taken by Dagger, she needs a 3+, and that roll is going to fail, so she becomes blinded for the next turn. So turn 3 in the books, and we saw our first out of action for House Delaque. This will at least force a bottle check, which can be failed at this point, as their starting crew was just 6. And House Escher is a bit limited right now, as Dagger is blinded. She will not have an activation on the next turn. And we are going to take a bottle test for House Delaque, and it looks like they are easily going to pass on this one. And then we're going to see if fighters become unwebbed. First rolling up for Banshee. This is huge. Unfortunately, she will stay webbed. And then we are going to roll up for the Phalanx Cat over here to see if it becomes unwebbed. And it looks like it will. So priority rolls for turn 4 are going to be absolutely massive. The Escher Death Maiden is very vulnerable right now. Priority rolls for turn 4 coming out, and House Escher will take it. So a massive win on that priority roll for the House of Blades. And we've got the Phalanx Cat that is going to activate first and run towards its owner. The second cat is going to charge into Darkside, and it is going to take swings, 2 attacks base, plus 1 for the charge, and on 6s we will apply Toxin. Hoping I did all of this right, not used to using pets. So 3 attacks rolling out and has a weapon skill of 4. And one of those will connect with Dark Side. There's no 6s, so no Toxin is out there. But this is Strength 3 against Toughness 2, as at some point Dark Side was enfeebled and had his Toughness reduced by 1. So on 3s it would wound, but it does not wound. And really wanting to force a 5-up save on this guy, I do use Lucky Shot to re-roll this back out. And again, looking for a 3, I do not get it. He is going to turn to make reaction attacks. Normally hits on a 4, because he turned to face, that will move it to a 5. Just 1 attack coming across, and he is going to miss. All is not lost yet. As part of this group activation, Ivy is going to move into engagement range with her whip. We'll get an assist from the Phalanx Cat. Normally hits on a 4. This takes it to a 3. She has 1 base attack plus 1 for the charge, and that is going to be 2 swipes with the whip hitting on 3s, and both of these are going to be good. Now this whip is only strength 2, but his toughness is 2, so we are looking for 4s to wound on these 2 dice. And there is a wound, and no AP on this weapon will force a 5-up save with his mesh armor. And this is going to be a big roll for the House of Shadows here. That save is going to fail. The injury die will be rolled out, just 1, and it is an out of action. So Darkside taken down by the whip of Ivy. We will roll up a D66 here. And the result will be 56, which is enfeebled again, so reducing his toughness to 1. Ivy and her cats will consolidate, and Mr. Black will activate next, and he will have none of it. Uses his first action to move. His second is to fire his plasma gun down at Ivy, and he normally hits on a 3, partial cover to a 4, but short range modifier of plus 2 makes it anything but 1. He strikes her with the plasma gun, rapid fire, and this is strength 5 against her toughness 3, so 3s will be needed to wound, and several wounds are going to come across. This will cut right through her armor. She's actually not even wearing any. Injury dice go out, and she is going out of action. Diva then activates for the 9s, moves up behind cover, and she targets Onyx with her plasma gun. Gonna fire this low setting mode, and she normally hits on a 3 as she is a champion. It is partial cover, takes that to a 4, but the short range modifier of plus 2 makes this anything but 1. She does connect, and it is rapid fire, and she gets 2 hits, and it's strength 5 against this toughness 3, so 3s will be needed. And both of these are going to miss, and Onyx will go down pinned. He is going to take a 4-up initiative check to see if he falls, actually 3 because of the rail, and he is good. Onyx then stands and looks to return fire. He normally hits on a 4, the partial cover being offset by short range, so just a 4 to hit with his auto gun, and that shot is fired out along with the ammo dice, and that is going to miss. And now Banshee is going to make a crawl maneuver, just trying to stay in hiding to limit any shooting that can be done against her. And Sinister is going to move down the stairs to reposition. Sinfall over on the flank is going to open the door and move through, looking to make his way towards the middle of the board. So turn 4 in the books. Could have potentially been a massive turn for House Escher, but the Death Maiden having some struggles getting unwebbed. There was a Delaque ganger that was taken out, as well as the fighter that joined for House Escher just for this battle. No D66 would be rolled for her. Moving to the end phase of turn 4, bottle checks being taken by House Delaque. They are just fine. And then we're going to roll to see if Banshee unwebs, and it looks like she is going to stay down, staying webbed, and we are getting ready for turn 5. The Escher forces playing Shiver Privacy, attempting to end the game. They would need a 4 or less here to force one more turn, and the game would end. So rolling 2d6 out, it is not 4 or less, so we are just operating as normal. Priority rolls going out for turn 5 with House Delaque up. And Onyx, attempting to be quick to the draw here, moves to where he can get clear line of sight to Diva, and he pulls out the auto gun, fires at her, normally needs a 4 short range, taking this to a 3, and that will strike rapid fire, and strength 3 against her toughness 3, 4s will be required to wound. And it looks like one wound will go through. She does have the dodge skill, so we'll attempt to dodge the shot on a 6+, and that is going to fail. The flak armor save requiring a 6+ is going to fail. She will take 1 wound. House Escher activates Dagger, who has recovered from being blind. She is going to fire the last gun up at Onyx. Short range is negating the partial cover, and she is going to aim first. So taking this down to a 3, she strikes Onyx with the last gun, and then we'll need 4s to wound at Strength 3, Toughness 3. There is no wound. An initiative check is taken from Onyx on a 3+, and that is passed. Sinful activates next for House Delaque and uses both actions to move to the door. And then the Death Maiden Banshee is just going to crawl, getting as much into cover as possible. And this is going to make Sinister come down the ladder to get her. And next up, Diva is going to activate for the House of Blades, firing her plasma gun. Now, she does have Onyx short range, so is able to take this shot. He's in partial cover, although he's pinned. She can fire at him due to the short range. Anything but 1 required to hit. And she strikes him 3 times with rapid fire. So strength 5 against his toughness of 3. Only 1 wound will go through, needing 3s. And AP-1 takes this mesh armor to a 6-up save. That is failed. So reducing him to 0 wounds. 2 injury dice are rolled out here for Onyx, and he is going out of action. A D66 is rolled out for Onyx, and on a 62, he will be critical. He will need to be escorted to the dock at the end of the game or risk dying. Mr. Black then moves down to potentially take Banshee out of action on the next turn or defend Sinister if she gets up. And this brings us to the end of turn 5. Things are really heating up now. Another Delaque Ganger went out of action there. They are getting dangerously close to bottling out for this game. So rolling a bottle test for the House of Shadows, it is another 1, so they are just fine. We are then going to take a recovery roll. This is going to be huge for Banshee, but she is going to stay webbed, staying in seriously injured position. Priority rolls go out with House Escher taking it first, and Dagger is going to move forward, and then before the second move can be played, Over Here is being played by House Delaque. And that means that House Delaque can control her movement, and they will move Dagger right up against the door. And on their activation, Mr. Black is going to charge into Banshee, taking her out of action. And a D66 will be rolled up here. On a 36, it will be Grievous. Diva activates for the 9s, using both of her actions to move, getting behind full cover. And then we will move back over to the Dark Syndicate, where Sinfall uses his first action to open the door, and he's staring straight at Dagger. And he does have the Gunfighter special rule with his dual fletchet pistols, and he is not going to suffer that -1 for twin guns blazing. So as a champion, he is going to hit on 2s due to short range. And one of these is going to miss. The other one will strike twice with rapid fire. And Strength 3, Toughness 3, 4s will be needed to wound. That is a wound. A 6-up save for flak armor is going to be failed. So an injury die will be rolled out, and it looks like she's going down with a serious injury. We move back over to the Dark Syndicate, where Sinister is going to use both of his actions to move, getting back up on the platform. And that is going to bring us to the end of turn 6, where we did see Banshee get taken out of action. We also saw Onyx get taken out of action, and we also saw Dagger go down with a serious injury. Unfortunately, the forces of House Escher are not able to keep up with this war of attrition, but House Delaque will roll a bottle test here, and on this 6, they are going to officially bottle out. We'll roll a recovery test here for Dagger. She stays down with a serious injury, and priority rolls going back to House Escher. Not so easy being played by House Escher, giving them -2 to their cool test. They need 8s. Mr. Black is good, spreads that to Sinister, and then Sinfall needs an 8 to stick around as well. He's just fine. Diva, staring at Sinfall, realizes it's now or never, or Dagger is going to die. She takes a shot, first switching her plasma gun to maximum firepower, and needs a 2 to hit, getting a short range modifier of 1. And that shot is going to hit. Sinfall goes down pinned. It is strength 7 against his toughness of 3, so anything but 1 will cause a wound, and it will wound. It will cut straight through his mesh armor and do 3 total damage. He has 2 wounds. It reduces him to 0. 2 injury dice are rolled out, and it's an out of action. Sinfall has been taken out by Diva. A D66 is rolled out for Sinfall, and on a 66, he is dead. Sinister quickly reacts by moving into place and looks to fire down at Diva. She is in full cover. He normally hits on a 4, that full cover going to a 6, but he does get a +1 for being short range. Needs a 5, but that shot is going to miss. We've then got Dagger, who is down seriously injured. She crawls into cover, trying to limit who can see and shoot at her, while Mr. Black swings over and points his plasma gun down at Diva. She is outside of short range. He normally hits on a 3, giving partial cover, taking this to a 4, and he unloads the plasma gun in low setting mode, and his shot is also going to miss, and that is going to bring us to the end of the turn. And rolling a recovery for Dagger, she stays down with a serious injury. We are going straight into priority rolls for turn 8, where once again, House Escher will be up first. And over for the 9s, Diva activates again, positions to where she can take advantage of full cover, and then targets Sinister with her plasma gun, turning it back into low setting mode. All modifiers included here, the cover being offset by the short range. She needs a 2 in order to connect with Sinister, and she gets a hit. Strength 5 against his toughness will be 3s in order to wound, and she will get that as well. 6-up save required. He wears mesh armor. That AP -1, taking it to a 6. That is failed. So 2 injury dice will be rolled out here for Sinister, and he's going to get 2 flesh wounds. Sinister takes an initiative check to remain on the platform, needing a 4 or better to avoid falling. He gets that. Mr. Black is then going to react, getting it within short range with his plasma gun against Diva, and he's going to take a shot here. The short range is offsetting the full cover that she is receiving, so Mr. Black will hit on a 3-up, and that is good. And strength 5 against toughness 3. 3s will be needed in order to wound her, and that is going to be a wound. Now this AP -1 will cut right through her flak armor, but she does have the dodge skill, so she will have an opportunity to dodge this attack on a 6+, and she does not. So 2 injury dice will be rolled out here, as she did suffer a flesh wound earlier, and she goes out of action. In a valiant effort from Diva, a D66 is rolled out, with the result being a 43. That will be grievous. Sinister attempting to put an end to the game. He is going to stand and leap down, and we'll need to pass an initiative check on a 4+, and it looks like he fails. He is going to fall. As a result, he will become pinned. Strength 3 hit will be taken, and this should wound on a 2 as his toughness has been reduced, but we said it did not. So we were still playing him as a toughness of 3 and missed that. As we move to the end phase, Dagger rolls back over with a flesh wound, and for priority rolls, it is a tie, so the House of Shadows will be up. Cool check for Mr. Black is good on a 6. That spreads over to Sinister, and House Delaque will act first. Sinister cannot see Dagger, so he's going to attempt to stand first and then launch a photon flash grenade over. The grenade check is good, and the grenade shot is going to miss, as he did need 4s. And we're going to roll out a scatter die and a d6 to see where this goes. This would be huge if it still hit and blinded her, but it is going to roll 4 inches off the path and narrowly miss Dagger. So with my move, I will activate Dagger. She will stand and then use her last activation to move, knowing that these cool tests at the beginning of the turns are my friend at this point, as House Delaque has bottled. Mr. Black is going to sweep around the other side with both of his moves, looking to pincer Dagger. Going straight into priority rolls for the next one, House Escher will be up first. Cool checks are now being taken by Mr. Black. On a 6, he's good. And then also on Sinister, who is no longer within 12 inches of Mr. Black. They have separated now. He is also good. So over for House Escher, Dagger activates, moves back into position, and now targets Sinister with her last gun, short range. Has him in the open, so just needs 3s in order to hit. Risky maneuver here. Going to go ahead and lay this out and see what happens. And it will hit. He will go down pinned, and then rolling to wound at strength 3, toughness 3. That will get it done. So a wound goes through. Mesh armor provides a 5-up save, and that save is going to be failed. So an injury die is rolled out here, and a flesh wound, that is the last flesh wound that he has. He goes out of action. So a D66 now being rolled up for Sinister. And on a 44, that is Grievous. We move over to Mr. Black, who uses both of his actions to move, and now it is one-on-one Mr. Black versus Dagger. Nothing to do here in the end phase. Priority rolls go back to House Escher, and she's probably just going to continue to run at this point. A cool check will need to be taken from Mr. Black, and that is going to fail. They failed a cool test, and that is going to bring the game to an end as he is going to dart off the board. And the last woman standing is Dagger. This is going to give House Escher their first win of the season against the top of the table, House Delaque. What an incredible game that we just played, and it really came down to the very end there, where if House Delaque would have won priority, Mr. Black could have skirted right around that corner and had her right between the crosshairs of his plasma gun, neither side giving up until the very end. And it was a failed cool check that led to a win for House Escher. Taking a look at the postgame, I did not think that was possible. The Death Maiden did work early on, but was negated by a web weapon. The Escher injury dice were really on point with numerous actions. Some fine shooting from D.Va led them to victory. Now please understand that we are not competitive players. We play for fun, and I'm sure there was a way for House Delaque to crush the Escher crew, but this way was just much more fun for us. For rewards, the 9s will get 20 credits from this battle and 3 reputation. They will also get the W that they have needed this entire campaign. The Dark Syndicate will get 15 credits for their efforts. Territories will generate some additional benefits as well, as these two look to week 6. The MVP in this one goes to D.Va. D.Va had some great shots that wounded Sinister. She critically injured Onyx and killed Sinful. Speaking of Onyx, he was escorted to the dock. For the price of 60 credits, they attempted to save him. He rolled a 1 and died from complications. As always, thank you for watching this battle report. A special thank you to the 2021 and 2022 Coffee Supporters Club. Your names have all been added to this little hive of mine. If you want more information on that, a link will be in the description. Just know that my content will always be free, regardless of anything. Stay tuned for next time when we continue Shadows of Primus. Thanks.